Welcome friends, it is I, your LostScarf, and it's time for the Beginner's Guide to Hercules! That's what we're going to do Hercules this time. It should be a lot of fun to talk about him. Now, as you know, this is a beginner guide. Intermediate and expert players probably not going to find too much here. This is totally for beginners to understand Hercules a bit and get into it and play him and try to get comfortable with him. And then eventually you'll come up with your own ideas and become an intermediate and expert player yourself. So we'll be going over how to play and build him in Arena and Conquest, do's and don'ts with him, go over his abilities a bit, weaknesses, stuff like that. So this should be a lot of fun. So who is Hercules? Well, Hercules is the god of strength and body oil. Hercules is potentially the hardest god in the game to kill and possesses great fight control with his ability to push and pull groups of enemies. Because of his innate survivability and strength, Hercules is capable of playing all roles but ADC. If you want to laugh at your enemies while they wail on you, Hercules is your beefcake. Hercules' abilities. First up is his passive Strength from Pain, and the way this works is, the less HP you have on you, the more bonus physical power you gain from that. So what happens is when you're at full HP, you're in a fight with somebody, and the more they beat you up, the more dangerous you become. His first ability is Driving Strike. Now what this is, it's a short dash forward, everyone in his path gets pushed forward with him, and they get stunned at the end of the dash. Then there's his second ability, which is Earthbreaker. There's a piercing attack, but at the end of it, if any enemies get caught at the end of the attack, they get pulled towards Hercules. So you can combo his 1 and 2 together. You pull with the 2, then push them forward with the 1, cause a bunch of damage, stun them, and just make it a bad day for him. Then there's his third ability, Mitigate Wounds. What happens is when you cast it for 4 seconds, you'll gain flat HP, and any damage you take during that 4 seconds, you will heal back a percentage of that over the next 10 seconds after. It sounds a little bit weird, but you'll understand that as you play him. You can heal up to 90% of your damage at max level, so that's really helpful there. It makes you very hard to kill and very annoying. Then there's his ultimate, Excavate. What happens is you pull a boulder out of the ground and throw it at your enemies, and this can bounce off walls. So if you can get an enemy at a wall, you can throw the rock at them, it'll hit them, bounce off a wall and hit them again, and it'll do even more damage on them. So you can hit them twice, up to like about 5 times I've seen. That's a lot of damage there. It's less per hit, but it's still pretty good. Hercules in Conquest. Now the beauty of Hercules is he's capable of doing all roles but ADC. I'm going to say for beginners do solo, but advanced can do jungle, mid, and support. He's capable of doing those 4 roles pretty well. It all depends on your playstyle and just how you build him and just a lot of things. He's just so versatile because of the way he's set up. He has like a lot of good survivability, a lot of good power, and a lot of good control. He's just capable of so many things, he can be played in all of them. But for solo, I'm suggesting this build. It's a very general build. If you don't understand counter building too much, this build should work out for you. You're starting out with a Death Toll, getting a boot for some speed, and you get Hog to clear out whenever you need to, and you get a green and blue potion at the start. So using that Hog to get the blue buff at the start, then using it for emergencies, dealing with the minion line and getting blue buff later on. Then you're going to build Warrior Tabi, High Diversion. High Diversion gives you defense in magical and physical, so that's why that's there, and as kills happen, you'll get even more defense, so that's great. Yotan's Wrath to give you some aggression. It gives you some cooldowns so you can do things more often, heal up a bit more often. Also the pen really helps out. Mystical Mail if you want to clear out better, if you want to stick to your opponent and just beat on them, it'll help you out with that. Titan's Bane to deal with any protection the enemies might have, and then Magi's Blessing. So you have good CC protection on you, it'll help you out and that'll be great. But the thing about Hercules is, especially in the solo lane, is you should be building counter. So once you're comfortable, you want to move into some other items instead of this suggested build here. Like if you're dealing with a lot of physical, like maybe a warrior and a physical jungler of some kind, then you might want to go for maybe Breastplate of Valor, Sovereignty, Mystical Mail earlier on, Runeforge to take advantage of that later on. Maybe you're fighting a hunter and maybe there's some sort of basic attack heavy jungler as well. You can get Witchblade to slow them down, or Nemean Lion to deal with their damage, or a couple other things. Now if you're fighting a mage, you can go Anseal early to get the stacks on that, maybe Stone of Guy because that's really good regen. There's just so many options. Now if you're able to be aggressive, you can get maybe Shift or Shield so you have some defense but also some aggression, Frostbound Hammer to keep them near you, Hydra's Lament. There's just so many items Hercules can be built on to be played with and do a lot of damage with, or to be able to survive a lot of damage with. So that's all there. Those are all on the screen. A lot of different things you can go with. You can even experiment with your own ideas as well, because there's just, Hercules can build nearly everything and do well with it depending on how you set it up. Now, as far as actives go, you could go either way on Hog 3. You could go for the objective clear Hog or the stun Hog. You can also get beads in case there's too much CC going on. Maybe teleport if you want to hold your lane a lot or go gank somewhere else if there's wards happening. Or maybe the weakening curse to slow down your enemies and beat the crap out of them. Or just any other active probably will work on him, but I think these main 4 should help you out the best. Now, as you see, the leveling order I have here is 1, 3, 2, 4, having you alternate between 1 and 3 a little bit in the middle levels. That's because you should have some good damage, but I also want you to have some good survivability. Because you haven't played Hercules that many times, you might get hurt a lot, and that'll help you not die as much. So that's really what that's there for. But as you get better at it, you can go for 1, 3, 2, 4 as maxing it that way, and you'll do well with it. So in the laning phase, which is the first half of the match, your early game is not that great, you don't hit very hard, but you're still scary with your 2-1 combo, because you can pull and push at level 2. So what happens here is you can pull archers into the melee minions and then push them all together for safer clear, or if the enemy god gets close enough, you can pull them as well. Pulling the enemy god and putting him near your minions will get them beat the hell up and maybe even get them killed. That'll be really great if you can pull that off. It'll be really scary for the other team for sure. But there's a good chance your opponent will have superior clear to you and they'll push you back to your tower. But that's still not a bad thing, because if they drop their guard for a moment, you can pull them into your tower and get them killed or very badly beaten that way. And even if they are careful enough to not let you do that, they are in deep. You'll lose XP and gold because the tower's killing minions, but your jungler, if they respond well enough, can come over for an easier gank because they're so deep in. So that's helpful there. Now after the first couple levels, after you've gotten some items in you and a little bit more into your driving strike and your mitigate wounds, you can get more harassy. You can go over and start punching them a little bit and ignore minions a little bit because of mitigate wounds, push them around, pull them around, hurt them a lot. And when you're low on HP, don't forget, you're getting extra damage as a bonus from your passive, so if they get you low enough, you can maybe boulder them with your excavate ultimate and maybe kill them that way. You can just be very harassy, just use your mitigate wounds very well, and you can get kills in your lane. And even if you don't get any kills in your lane, there'll be a scary force later on because Hercules never slows down. Now in the team fighting phase, which is the second half of the match, you're going to be incredibly annoying. Even if you didn't get any kills, as long as you didn't die a lot, you should have at least 2 tanky items at this point, and then you have mitigate wounds on top of that. So you're going to be very hard to kill. You can walk into a team fight and push your enemies around, pull them around, and just give them a very bad day. And let's say a teammate's low, you can pull the enemies off your teammate and push them even farther back, so you can just cause a lot of trouble. And if you're fighting in the jungle, using your boulder ultimate, it'll bounce off the walls quite a bit and do a good amount of damage there as well. So Hercules is always a presence to be scared of. If you build them for a lot of damage, you'll be scary that way. If you build them really tanky, you'll be scary because you can push and pull so dang much. So you're always going to be a force to be reckoned with. Just soak up damage for your teammates, cause a bunch of trouble for the enemy team, and you will give your team a good chance at victory. Do's and don'ts with Hercules, and the first one's pretty straightforward. That is just combo Earthbreaker with Driving Strike. That's your 2-1 combo. Pull them, then push them. Doing that will put your opponents always in a bad situation, and that'll be great there. Then after that is initiate with Mitigate Wounds. The first 4 seconds of a fight is usually when you take the most of your damage, so walk in there, turn on Mitigate Wounds, take all that damage, and heal it back over the next 10 seconds as the fight's going on, and it'll be putting you in a pretty good situation there, and that'll be great. Then there is aim boulder correctly as you throw them at gods, because you can throw it over their heads. I've done it, it's not so cool to do that, so make sure you're aiming it correctly at your opponents when you throw the boulder at them. Another one with the boulder is make sure you bounce it off walls if you can. Bouncing off walls will give you a good chance of doing more than one hit, and that'll cause even more damage, which will be great. Another do is be careful of anti-healing gods and items, and I'll mention who they are in weaknesses so you can see who to watch out for as you're playing, because if you don't, they will get rid of your healing and you will die. And lastly, don't forget that the less HP you have, the more dangerous you are because of your passive. And you can take advantage of that, do some really good damage when you're low, like your boulder will hit like hell, and that'll be great for you. And then there are some don'ts. And the first one's pretty straightforward, and that is don't miss your pull or your boulder. Those are pretty important, don't miss them. Another is don't pull enemies out of bad situations. That's like, say, an enemy who doesn't have an escape and they're in Hades ult and you pull them out of it because you want to do damage to them. That's not a good thing to do, so don't do that. Another is don't pull the wrong guy. That's usually don't pull the support, because support has a lot of CC, they're not going to get killed from you pulling them, and it might put your teammates in a bad spot. And lastly, don't rely on your passive for damage. It's a really nice passive, but being low HP is always dangerous of getting you killed, so I say don't do it. When you get better at the game, you can try it, but don't do it as a beginner. Hercules in Arena. Now on the screen here is my build for him. It served me very well. It is Stone of Gaia, Warrior Tabby, Breastplate of Valor, Runeforged Hammer, Mystical Mail, and Titan's Bane. Gives you a lot of penetration, a lot of power, a lot of defense. Makes you extremely hard to kill. Give him Heavenly Agility to help out with his healing. Weakening Curse to slow down enemies so you can beat them up some more. It works out very well for me, and it should work out very well for you. But if you're fighting a lot of different things, you could always change up the build. Like you're fighting a lot of physical, you can get more physical items. More basic attack heavy, you can go for Nemean Line or Witchblade to slow them down. Magical enemies, Runic Shield. Maybe the Bulwark of Hope. There's a lot of items you can get. And as far as actives go, I really think Heavenly Agility is great for you. And also Weakening Curse, but you can also get beads if you're dealing with a lot of CC and you don't want to get Magi's Blessing. And that should work out for you. Now you're going to see the levels on the screen here, get 1 of each at the start. Max mitigate wounds, so 3, then your 1, then your 2, then your alt whenever possible. With this setup, you'll be able to deal with team fights pretty well. Now in Arena, Hercules is pretty ridiculous. Once you get about 2 tanky items, you're going to be really hard to kill. You can spam your heal and your abilities all you want because you can go back to base and get more mana and HP and do it over and over and over again. You're going to be extremely annoying because they're going to have a hard time killing you, and you're going to push and pull them wherever the heck you want and get them killed by you or your teammates. But the thing to remember, of course, is anti-healing. If you're fighting gods with anti-healing or have anti-healing items, keep an eye on them and be careful at those moments. Besides worrying about that, you can just go crazy and have no regrets. Weaknesses. Hercules only has one real weakness, and that is anti-healing. There are 5 gods and 4 items that can hurt him, and that is Shanga, Odin, Osiris, Sobek, and Serket. And Pestilence, Weakening Curse, Brawler's Beatstick, and Divine Ruin. Those are the only items and gods that can give him trouble on his anti-healing. If you see them, be careful about when you do your healing, because if they catch you at the right time, you're not going to heal anything, and you will die. In conclusion, Hercules is an incredibly hard to kill god, and very versatile. This is proven by the fact that he can play 4 different roles and do them all very well. He can also play a lot of different items together and be a force to be reckoned with. It's just amazing how hard he is to kill and how hard he's gonna kill other people. And as long as you keep in mind anti-healing and are smart about when and where you use your abilities, your enemies are in for a world of hurt. So that's it for the Hercules guide there. I talked a lot about things you can do with him because he's just such a versatile god. There's just so much that can be done with him. It's scary how good a god he is. And if you found this guide helpful, please share this with your friends and maybe the other guides as well. The more people get good at this game, the better it'll be for everyone, and that'll be just great. And up next should be Zhongque. That should be a lot of fun to do there. Probably suggest him for the solo lane. Mid lane he can do as well, but solo of course is safer, so I'll suggest him for that spot there. And if I do it right, if I explain the guide well enough, you won't die. Ever. If I explain it correctly. So there you go for the guide. I had fun. I had a lot of fun watching and listening, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.